This podcast is supported by Siemens, your partner for industrial-grade AI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of our Industrial AI podcast. My name is Robert Weber, and it's a pleasure to talk to
Peter Seeberg. Good morning, Robert. Hello. Good morning, afternoon to you, dear listener. Today's a big day.
Peter. Welcome back. Today we have a lot of news, a lot of sound bites, and a text message that we are very excited about. Listen to it.
Hello, Robert. Hello, Peter. I'm very excited. On Wednesday, the 8th of May, we published the xLSTM paper on arXiv, if everything works as planned. You know, in the 1990s, the long short-term memory, or LSTM, has been introduced. LSTMs have stood the test of time. They contributed to numerous deep learning success stories and were the first large language models. Then in 2017, the transformer technology marked the dawn of a new area, outpacing LSTMs at scale. We raise a simple question. How far do we get in language modeling when scaling LSTMs to billions of parameters? To overcome LSTM limitations, we introduce exponential gating and a matrix memory, together with a covariance update rule. When comparing xLSTM models to the state-of-the-art transformers like GPT and state space models like Mamba, they outperform both in word prediction and scaling. We outperform transformer and state space model at model sizes 125 million parameters, 350 million parameters, 760 million parameters, and 1.3 billion parameters. And we are faster in inference, we are faster in application. That is, when applying some models, we are faster. And we require less compute. Even if we have better results, we don't need as much compute. These results are fantastic. These experiments have been made possible by the new company NXAI. We now want to go to a 7 billion parameter model and devise the first products. Therefore, we want to raise new money for NXAI, which will start in September or October. In contrast to other companies, we are the owners of our new technology. We developed this new technology. Therefore, we are in charge or in the driver's seat of this new technology. Next, we want to scale up, as said, to 7 billion models, and then transfer these models into products. These are very exciting times. Best and goodbye, yours, Sepp.
So, first of all, congratulations to Linz. Peter, what does that mean now?
Ooh, what does it mean? Is Sepp and his team going to change the world as Sepp has been doing before once, right? I mean, many listeners don't know. I mean, Sepp is referring to the time LSTM, and you and I, we've been kind of helping Sepp last year, 25 years LSTM, to bring attention. Oh, there's the word attention related to transformers, but to bring attention to LSTM actually. And maybe many people do not know, I'm actually close to maybe not continuing. That's a different story with this gadget I have around here in my home from Amazon, but that's a different. But the fact that we have been able to talk to our machines, to our devices, that has been until maybe a couple of years ago, LSTM. And I think Sepp and his team are very close to changing the world again.
Yeah, we also had to take criticism again and again for highlighting xLSTM in this way. Now the paper is here, and I talked to Professor Dr. Johannes Brandstätter, and he told me a few weeks ago, attention, there's a German saying, the cards are being reshuffled now. What do you think? What does that mean?
Well, if that's what he says, he's been part of the team, I understand, right? So he's a professor also, Linz. So I guess in a different or the same department as Sepp. Is he also part of the NXAI, whatever?
Yep.
So he has been very close. And if he says the cards are being reshuffled, then, I think that means, what does that mean? Does that mean that very soon the world is going to change from transformer towards xLSTM? We heard Sepp talk about, relative to, he says, transformers, he just gives GPT, but I think today it's 99% of all the large language models are based on transformers. And then there's one or two or three which are based on the relatively new, I think, states-based models as such, maybe not completely new, but Mamba is relatively new. I think they had a paper a couple of months back, right? And he's better there as well. So let's see if that means, because, LSTM has continued to be in place. We've been doing a couple of interviews on LSTM. So I can very well imagine that, there is still going to be a market in the next, let's say, 5 years. Who can
for industrial application on the edge, maybe.
Well, let's see, but maybe not. That's what I really don't know. And I'm very, very much looking forward. The time that we are recording this, dear listener, is, maybe a day or two. We're going to just give you this podcast at the very moment that the paper is live. So we haven't read the paper. Let's see what maybe details are in there, and then maybe they cannot know it himself. Of course, I have a strong feeling, and maybe we can talk to Sepp in the next couple of weeks, that he will tell us what he believes. But there's going to be a differentiation. There's going to be, is xLSTM going to take everything again, like transformers did, or are we going to have just a market broken down by use cases?
Exactly. I think the most important thing is the distribution channel of the new technology now, because when you see OpenAI and Microsoft partnering and offering, I think that's the most important step now, to build a product out of it, or to find a partner. And from my point of view, a partner is one of the big five who helps you to share the technology on the market, I think.
Do we know how Sepp is thinking?
No.
We do not know. No. So we can do all kind of theoretical discussions, open source, licensing. I think what we heard him say is that he says they are whatever detailed situation. They are the owner. They are in the driver's seat of the new technology. So they're free to do with it whatever they want. If they're going to put certain pieces open source, if they're going to license it, whatever. I think the important thing I hear is that they say they're going to, continue, raise more money, and then go with the next, did he say 7 billion model? And then the most important thing, to combine it and themselves transfer it into products, right? I'm not sure that we've seen that. We probably have. I'm not sure. If we look at those that we know in the market, typically we always hear about the new models coming to the market, the size of the models, the parameters, et cetera, the capabilities. But I'm not sure that we've heard any of these companies, doesn't matter if they're open source organizations or the Metas or the Microsofts or the OpenAIs. OpenAI, I guess you could say, they, of course, ChatGPT, I guess that's then the product, right? Or even going further, OpenAI allowing its customers to build products, solutions based on it. So maybe something similar. And over to you, because the thought was that I think Sepp has been saying that industrial, so that is our topic, Industrial AI podcast, is very important, is maybe the center of what it is that they're thinking about providing products for.
Yeah, he always talks to different industrial companies.
Yeah.
But you mentioned building a product out of it of OpenAI and LLMs. It was very interesting because we had a discussion at our stage at the Hannover Messe, and what surprised me there, the big automation companies agreed it is very difficult to make money with LLMs in the moment because the application is becoming a commodity and the customer says, oh, I don't want to pay for it. I want to have it for free because it's commodity. So that's what's really, really interesting because all big free automation companies agreed on that.
Well, we're going to be hearing, of course, in our main topic with Timo Gasson from Schunk later on. I think we'll talk about it in a couple of minutes as well in more detail. And I mean, his approach or his customer approach is, we're not interested at all. Yeah. What I want to say is like the customer, and it's all about hype cycle. It's about the terminology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. Maybe we are. And he is showing we're at a different point where, customers, people in the end paying, but what are they paying for? And as you said, are interested in solving problems and solutions. And maybe many of them are not interested in the fact that there's AI inside,
exactly,
kind of thing. So that's a good point. And, if you say that that's what, at least in our discussion at Hannover Messe, the three companies represented were agreeing you can't make money with models. In the end, those, like we hear later on from Timo Schunk, you have to put a product on the market and you have cost on one side and you have revenue on the other side. And there needs to be a difference of X percentage points, 5 to 10, or maybe even 20, who knows? So if you're going to have cost to develop, on the basis of a product that doesn't matter if you got it open source. Open source, as you know better than I, is not the same as free beer, right? Mm-hmm. You still you need resources, you need people to develop, you need whatever it is that you need. And let's see, I'm not sure.
We were both at the Hannover Messe. What were your impressions?
Well, I haven't been there that long as you were, so maybe we should put it the other way around, because actually...
Yeah, GenAI was everywhere, I think.
Oh, yeah, that was the big topic. I mean, all the communication around, which I have been reading a lot the weeks going there, was all about GenAI. But yeah, I do prefer in this case, because you've been going around. I didn't have the time this time. You've been going around. And was it the way that you saw the signs everywhere where all the providers trying to get you onto their boost?
It was everywhere. Everybody has now a GenAI application. And yes, I'm not convinced. As you know, everybody has now a chatbot or something like that. I was very, very happy that, for example, Beckhoff and Siemens presented also, I would call it like Jan Kautnik blue-collar AI. And Timo from Schunk also, he combines a Gen AI approach and let's call it good old-fashioned vision AI approach. So yeah, it's a hype cycle. We see that. I was very happy that Michael from Cthulhu talked about agents, auto-federated learning agents. I think you said that's the new hot shit in the market.
Yeah. But he didn't use the term federated learning anymore. And I thought...
No, auto-federated learning, I said. It's a new term.
Maybe he did specifically. And then at some point later, he talked about FL, the new acronym, which is, again, a hype cycle thing. If everybody knows what federated learning is, which I'm completely sure is not the case. If you, the listener, want to know, then go back and search for the term federated learning on our website for the podcast, and you can.
But why are agents so important, Peter?
Why are they? The real answer maybe is because Andrew Wang is saying so. No, I mean, everybody's talking agents.
That's it. That's the Bible.
The first time I had to do, what did I say wrong?
No, it's your Bible.
Oh, right. No. Well, Andrew. I mean, of course, it's not just Andrew. I mean, it's Andrew. I keep on forgetting our French guy.
Jan Lecan.
Jan. And there's 2-3 other guys, of course. I mean, Zap is for us the number one, and Jürgen is there. But there's 5 to 10 people in the world, and Andrew is very, very, very active, and he has his weekly newsletter, and every single newsletter, as I hope you, dear listener, will tell of the podcast of Robert and myself, you have to listen to, or you're very happy listening to. That's the way I'm very happy with reading what Andrew has to say. But not only Andrew, I mean, the first time I have had to do with, and we go back to reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning typically is you send an agent. An agent is a piece of software that you give a target. And the target is, in combination with chess, because then everybody understands, is, your job is the agent to win. Here are the rules in this case, and now go out. And, you lose maybe 1,000 times and you win one time. In the case of reinforcement learning is then finding out why it is that you won. And then after 10 million times, nobody else can win from you. So that was the first time that I got involved, maybe 5 years back, with agents. And for me, I haven't been following it, and now everybody has been. Not only because Andrew says so. Microsoft has a platform for exactly agents. So I do believe that these pieces of software that work together. So it's also development of the way that we interact with these large language models. And I do believe the hype cycle, yes, always is there. But if we look at the Gartner hype cycle, we're probably coming down now as far as the large language models are concerned. I am convinced that they're going to go through this trough of disillusionment, as it's called, I believe, right? And they're going to continue to be there. I believe at some point in time, you cannot offer a machine a solution, doesn't matter where in our personal lives or in an industrial setting, if you cannot, talk to it, or at least ask it things, and there is an expert, there's a co-pilot, that kind of thing. I believe it's gonna be a must. I cannot understand it differently.
And the next topic is GenAI systems by Jakub Chomczak.
Exactly. And well, I can talk a little bit about it because I just finished. I shared one presentation. I do two presentations in 2 weeks in Houston, connected, planned. And it is building on top of, in this case, what I'm saying is we've been seeing that large language models are already starting to help us not only at the front end, that's what we are reporting on, but we see papers that also start getting involved in industrial control. I think I mentioned that there's, LLMs, I think ChatGPT, other ones controlling HVACs. Now, Of course, I'm going to be telling my audience that I'm not so stupid as to believe that a huge chemical plant or energy plant is the same as an HVAC that is hanging outside of your wall, right? But the very fact that the very small single piece we can do something, useful with a large language model, and then thinking further and further and further, and then moving towards the one piece is make sure that hallucinations, go towards zero. And that's what I believe we can only reach by combining the good old symbolic AI with the sub-symbolic, so the machine learning, large language models, with some kind of way of information modeling, like, for example, OPC Foundation, right? And then on top of that, look at large language models, have agents work together. And that's how I believe we're going to get to, automated plants, automated industrial control. Now, and it's very important, I say time and again, until a year ago, when we would talk about something like this, then, listeners or the wives, the partners, other people of the listener would say, oh, you're going to lose your job. Well, I don't believe that at all today, because these days we just cannot find people. I mean, every day you hear it on the radio. And it's the same in the United States, as an example, where I'm doing the presentation. We're lacking 1 million, 2, 3 million people that we would need. And the only way that we can keep where we are doing. Doesn't matter if, for example, United States or Europe, doesn't matter. Maybe the same in Asia. We can only keep it if we're going to, use technology, agents, AI, large language models, maybe the ones based on xLSTM.
Coming back to Jakub, you will record an episode with him because he published a very interesting blog post about GenAI systems, right?
Jakub doesn't know this yet.
Okay. Yeah, now he knows it.
Yes. Jakub, this is my request to you that I want to... actually, Robert wants me to record a podcast with you. Yeah, most certainly. I mean, he's doing exactly that as well. He's looking at... and I'm using, actually, he doesn't know that either as well. One of... it's a paper, or was it an article that he was about the GenAI systems here? Yeah. And he's looking exactly at the core, and then he says, okay, you need to connect it to a database. And for me, the database in our industrial environment is typically, if possible, OPC UA information model. Use whatever you want to use. You can use unstructured, but I think the idea here is that he says, ground your language model in, I think he calls it similar to the LSTM, the long-term memory. That was always what was the combination of SAP's first idea. Long short-term memory. The short-term is, I look outside, the sun is shining, okay, and then a second later, this is April, May, the sun is not shining. But the long-term is about what is my knowledge about weather, what is the sun, what is the moon, what is cold and what is hot. And if I'm in an industrial environment, we'll get to Schunk in a moment. What is a gripper? What is the name of the gripper? What is the capabilities? What is the function? Typically, all the stuff that you can read in documentation, make sure that whatever your production line or the elements of your production line, like a gripper or a machine or a PLC, all these elements, that you have them represented in, I suggest, possibly an OPC UA information model. And then you have your large language model, your agents, go and look into that information model and then give you the answers that you are asking, wherever you are in the production line.
Before we listen to Timo from Schunk, I have one more note, because Beckhoff presented their AutoML tool. We had an episode on that, and we received a few questions about the tool, and Fabian sent us also a text message and answers the questions.
First of all, I'm very happy that this episode has attracted so much attention. Thank you for that. The question is, why a vision tool for AutoML? The answer can be broken down into several sections. So the first one is Beckhoff is both an automation and also a vision company. And second is that AI is much more dominant in the vision sector compared to time series. This also comes with that the technical basis for time series is not yet as major as for image processing. And that's why we postponed time series. So we didn't say we will not do that, but it's postponed. And they want to cover this area very soon, hopefully already next year.
So, a vision system, and the next step is focusing on time series.
Yeah.
Now let's go to...
One thing, so you got that question from a listener, or?
Yeah, a few listeners ask us,
Okay, I think it was a confirmation. For me, it was, I understood it exactly the way you put it.
Yeah.
Beckhoff is not just automation, it's a vision company as well. That's a general statement. He made that, I believe, during the podcast. And number two is they're concentrating on what is there today, If he said vision data, it's like AutoML on data which represents images, typically end of line quality control. And he mentioned, sure, he's very interested. And the time series, we've discussed it a couple of times. We're at the stage of papers, I believe.
I think Marco Huber shared the paper, right?
It's very similar to the TAP PFN, to tabular information, which we discussed, and that works partly, works not. And I believe that's the same with the time series. And I can only confirm, I started close to 10 years ago that was my environment, understanding that whatever data we have in an industrial environment typically is, well, should I say with the exception, if I say that I have, an image of the product that just comes by, and that is at a look at my clock 08.46.23. something, that is already a time frame at least related to that image, and because I have that time frame, I know exactly what product it is. So time series are the A and O. It's the beginning and the end kind of in the industrial environment. Yes. So I understand it very well. If that hasn't been solved, and maybe Fabian, maybe Beckhoff, but I'm sure not only Beckhoff, all the other major automation companies will be working on solutions there as well.
And now congratulations to the Hermes Award winner, because Schunk won the Hermes Award for using AI and a GenAI approach for its 2D gripper application.
Right.
And I talked to the CTO, Timo Gessmann. I would say we listen in, and then we will discuss a few questions, and then you can go on, Peter. Let's listen.
We use the state-of-the-art software architecture, so as known as from AI. So we use public AI models available, open source, and we trained those models on industrial use cases. Since our model is in industry, it's a 2D grasping. We trained a lot of objects which you find in the industry, like screws, like other objects in the industry, and through a pre-training of them, and supported the AI that it can adapt the use case in a very short time frame. So with our system, it's enough to take, for instance, 20 pictures of an object you want to grasp, of a screw or of a glass, and with those 20 pictures, since we have pre-trained it, it's enough to optimize and to find out the grasp planning. So it can identify after 20 pictures what is the object and how to grasp it in the perfect way.
How do you do that?
As mentioned, we had a base model. We trained it.
Which base model? It's an open source model, right?
It's an open source model, yeah. So in the past we used PyTorch. So we used PyTorch models as a base, and then we adapted this model to our industry applications. And over the last years, we trained a lot of industry objects. So like screws, like objects we have in the industry.
And synthetic data is a topic?
Yeah, it's also a topic. We use synthetic data on the one hand to learn the new objects, but also to learn the environment conditions. Since in the factory, you don't have it like here, perfect lights. You have different kind of lights. We have dirt objects. We have objects with oil. So also we learned we grasp screws. And screws are most of the time oily. And so we used synthetic data to learn to handle with these different environment conditions. And it's very robust. So we also were astonished that AI is that robust to fulfill this automation process.
How do you define robust?
It's a good question. What we did over the last 2 years, we installed 14 collabs worldwide. So we have collaboration areas where we invite our customers to come to our place, where he finds a lot of different robots and our gripper portfolio. And then we define the use case together with the customer. As mentioned before, we are looking for a customer use case. So he defines his process, he defines the environment, and then we do a validation in our collab. So we pre-validate the environment the customer mentioned to us, and if we see that it's working there, then we deploy it to the customer world. And about robust, we learn a lot in our collab. Since also there we use different environments, we also have our own factory at Schunk, and that's also great. We take it to our own factory and see whether it's working in our factory conditions. And if it's working there, then we say it's robust enough, since we have our own manufacturing, then we can deploy it also afterwards to the customer.
But how do you measure robustness of an algorithm or of an AI model?
You can see it later on in our booth. If you talk about bin picking or picking and placing of objects, we talk to the customer and say, okay, nowadays you need 2 people to do the pick and place. And if we can automate it, that maybe you only need 20% of the people who do some such support or operations, then we see, okay, we have increased the productivity to 80%. And if it's 80%, then it's good for the customer. So it has to be, in this case, 80% robust, that no person has to go there, that don't need any operations. it's good enough. Of course, it's not 100%. So this is, of course, also a challenge with AI. So you cannot get 100% robust. But if you increase your productivity by 80%, that's great. And I think that's what we are also looking for. So we focus on the use case, as mentioned before. And the use case defines the criteria and the robust level the customer needs. So then we do a customer acceptance tests. And if the customer is happy, then we are happy. And then, so the customer defines the robustness level at the end. Even large language model came up in the end of 2022. And we also looked in that area and see how can we use those LLMs and transfer it to our use case. And by beginning of 2023, we see that it's still a hassle to label all the objects. As mentioned, we have a data-driven approach, so we don't need any CAD files of the objects. Just taking photos, just taking 20 photos is enough. But at the beginning, you still have to label it. So you have to draw a polygon outside. And there we thought we can use a GPT to do the auto-labeling and the auto-polygon drawing, let's say. And it works great. So
you're using OpenAI or Llama, or what is it?
We all worked with both of them and looked for who's better. Who is better. It depends on the use case. You cannot say.
It depends always.
Always on the use case. We're also looking for collaboration with Aleph Alpha and Mistral. So we're also part of this EPI network in Heilbronn. Maybe you heard about it. And that's what we are doing there. We deploy the models to our industry use case. And for industry, it's not always like in non-industry, you know better than me. They also deal with cats and dogs and some internet data, but we deal with industrial data. And that's all about to adapt existing technology to industrial use cases. And to finalize the sentence, what we did there is we used the GPT LM model to do the auto-labeling of our objects. And it works really great. We could reduce the labeling time from 20 minutes to below 1 minute, since it's through auto-labeling. And this is great. And also there, the customer doesn't care how we solve this with GPT, without GPT. He just sees that he can reduce his labeling time. And for him, it's easier to start with automation.
So a well-deserved winner.
Yeah.
Especially the labeling with GenAI is a smart approach from my point of view.
Yeah, I like that. What did he say? He reduces labeling from 20 minutes to below 1 minute.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And of course, the big topic, the big message throughout what it is that he's saying is like his customers are not interested in AI. And that's perfectly okay, perfectly fine. It has always been like, has always been like that. It's especially the younger listeners, maybe, of you who don't have that experience. And I could share, which I'm not going to do. I'll do it some other time. Now, I could share a couple of instances looking back to my 40 plus years experience, where you as a young person, you put a new product to the market and you're so convinced this is the best of everything. And then the audience, which is, or your customers, are completely not interested for whatever reason. There's many. And one is the way that you put it, the way that you bring it to the market, and the way that he says, they work with their customers in the United States, Asia, Europe, and they found out, they just want to have their problems solved. They want to have solutions, and isn't this a wonderful way of telling? And you may want to share with us what the Hermes Award is, but somebody must have decided and agreed that this is a wonderful way to help customers solve their problems.
Oh, the Hermes Award is I think the most famous industrial award you can win in Europe. Yeah, I think it's very fabulous to win this Hermes Award. There's a jury with Fraunhofer, with some scientists, researchers, some journalists.
And it's typically announced during Hannover Messe.
Yeah, during Hannover Messe, yeah.
Exactly. Right, okay. Yeah, so that's what I listened to. Yeah, he talked about, the open source solutions. He talked about that in the beginning, he's been using, stuff like PyTorch. That is what you suggested, the standard, you call it blue collar. Blue collar. Although, that's also very interesting, right? Of course, we are in our 5th year of the industrial AI. And at the beginning, which is that maybe 5 years ago, let's be honest. Of course, we needed to explain each other or have, smart interviewees explain us what machine learning is and what a PyTorch can do and is. And now we already talk about it as if it was blue collar AI. Again, it's good that we do that. We clarify with our listeners what it is that we're talking about. And of course, in the end, the same thing there. I think that, Timo would be suggesting, also the blue collar worker doesn't really care, or do they? I must say that if I sit with friends, just over a beer, I do my my horn, my whatever I do in my free time. I must say that every now and then people do know that I do something with AI, and I must say that the general public, so to say, that they do have an interest in. They're very careful and asking about what is it. There is maybe an interest, but you need to find out, dear listener. Similar to Timo, if you're going to provide that kind of solution, do you want to show it? There's the AI inside. It has to do with of course, with legal stuff as well. Certain things you must explain. You must tell the person interacting that there is AI inside or not. And does that mean that people become scared or not? But it's very interesting on how they have provided the solution.
Peter, what else do you have? One more news?
No, one more news. No, I would rather just say close off for me again and say it's so nice to hear that. And for those of you, dear listeners, that want to spend more time, for those of you still with us, or maybe you came back because before then you needed to download the paper on archive. So go there. As soon as we make this podcast available, we'll let you know, at least on LinkedIn as well, where exactly. But you can go to archive and you can search for xLSTM. At the very moment, there's nothing there. And we expect something to be there within the next 24 hours. You can also go back on our podcast. It was number 230, where there was the news flash, right? Pira investing. And then in 215, it was the famous quote, "I'm almost exploding," by Zap. And we could hear that Zap is very anxious. We still feel him almost exploding. And I am so very happy that what he was promising, when did he first promise? Is that 6 months ago, maybe?
I think it was in November.
Yeah, there
November,
you go. Yeah, that's close. November. That's 6 months. And he said he knew what it was that he was going to do. And 6 months later, it's amazing that he took this off, because he's been complaining, of course, about our European, investment environment, the non-existence of. So the very fact that he could, co-establish a company, an xAI, and have investors and have the capability of doing the training, I think that's wonderful, marvelous, and congratulations, Zap and team.
And we are a bit proud to have gained so much insights from Zap. Thanks, guys.
Yes, exactly.
It is a pleasure to work together with you. Peter, thank you very much.
Robert, thank you. We'll continue. I will continue to look for the next 24 hours.
Absolutely.
On archive. But I believe that Sepp or somebody in his team will let us know as soon as the paper is live. Thanks for your time. Thanks. Dear listener, have a good day and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.